Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Crossroads. I am your host, Rashida Green, and this is the show for and about environmental justice and those who fight the fight with skin as melanated as the days are long. Knowledge is power, and we are breaking down stereotypes one episode at a time. So today I have a very special guest in the building. She is my what is she? My business partner. She is my guru of all things media, Juleen Moreno.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm so glad I finally got to appear on your podcast. I feel like I should be like long time listener, first time caller.
So I am really excited to have you. We are going to have a very, very, very interesting conversation. But before we get there, we have to give some flowers. And this is the segment in the show where we honor someone in our lives or just someone who has inspired us. You want to go first?
Yes, I would like to give flowers to my fiance. For whatever reason, he puts up with my mess. I'm always bothering him in the morning. And, he edits our videos. And when I get up and I'm like, babe, I need this on his day off, whether he's not feeling well, whatever, he'll always get up. He'll edit my videos for me. And yesterday he made me remember that my birthday was about me. I woke up immediately stressing, like, do we have enough wine for everybody coming by? Is there enough food? What's going on? Okay, I have this, but what about the kids? And he was like, babe, I got it. It's your birthday. And I got ready. I got the eggs out. I was getting ready to cook breakfast. And he was like, babe, I got it. Just sit down.
Nice.
So I would like to give him flowers for making my birthday about me.
That's really sweet. And he drives a city bus, right?
Yes, he does. He drives the bus.
So, and that actually really goes very nicely with who I'm giving flowers to. So I'm giving flowers to someone named Major Taylor. His real name is Marshall Walter Taylor. And he was actually a world-class athlete and a world cycling champion. And since we were talking about mobility justice last week, honoring your fiance and honoring Major Taylor and also continuing the conversation that we've had about mobility justice.
Hey, yay.
Yeah. Yep. So friend, we're having ourselves a chit chat mostly around you because you have a very, very interesting origin story. And there's so many different ways we can take this, but I really want you, for the listeners, to just really share your origin story.
I was actually born in West Covina, but I spent most of my childhood on the East Coast. And then about 3 years ago, I moved back to California following my divorce. And I moved back to California from New Haven. I pretty much grew up out there in the hills. They called it Fort Time. And this is the reason why I am very vocal about gentrification, because I witnessed firsthand the educational and healthcare disparities. In that one area, you get the very wealthy Yale students, teachers, and then in the whole different area, you get like where I live. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So this is part of the reason why I feel the way I feel. I'm a published author. I was published first when I was 15 years old. Then I left. I am the first female in my family to have served in the military, the first and only female to have ever served. I was published in a veteran pamphlet, an article called One Last March, when I came home from deployment. And then I graduated college. I wrote about the transition because, veterans' mental health, just mental health in general, is not something that's really talked about a lot. And I grew up I came out of a mostly Puerto Rican neighborhood. So it's just like, you just can't, you don't talk about that. I'm the mother of three. One of my children is autistic, and I started my company, Mom is Always Right Media, because believe it or not, it was kind of like that one bright spot in the middle of a tragedy. I was hit by a drunk driver in 2019, and I had some discs, and they put me in a roll litter. I went from being active and adventurous. I was like surf. If you look at my old Instagram, you'll see pictures of me like, making muscles and showing off that, I pushed myself to bike an extra mile that day.
Right.
I would bike to and from work 26 miles some days.
Wow.
And then I put out like, I pushed it to the limit today. I'm going to go even further. I went from that to needing help to get up out of bed. After my accident, like my fiance had to help me to toilet the day after because I could not lift my own body out of bed.
Yeah.
So out of that, because I had a commercial license, my leg would just go numb. So I couldn't drive the bus anymore. So I drove the school bus, and then when I moved here, I drove like a party bus, the limo buses. I drove for transit buses. I drove for MV transportation, and I drove shuttle buses over at Cal Poly, and I couldn't do none of that. None of that.
Yeah.
It was over. And then I had to find a different way to make money. I didn't know what I was going to do. I went to go dust off my old resume. I pulled out you remember the little flash drives?
Yeah.
I pulled it out, popped it in, and I was looking through all my old written stuff. Like I had the book that I did not finish, but I'm finishing this year. So it's going to be released on Black Friday.
Yep.
I had a lot of my written works, and then I noticed like clippings from where I was published, newspaper articles, an interview with the mayor. And I was like, I was so happy doing this. Why am I not doing this? And then I was like, I'm going to do this. It went from why am I not doing this to I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this right now. And my company was born.
That's awesome. And so you just said so much that I want to get into and I want to kind of delve into deeper. Starting with, you are Filipino.
Yes, I am Filipino and Spanish.
Okay. And so, and your experience as far as how you identify, or like when you're out in the world, people normally see you as a woman of color.
Oh, absolutely. Because Filipinos, they, as much as they try to deny their roots, and I'm not saying all, because we are actually considered Afro-Asian. And then, then we have our Spanish. The Spanish conquered us. And then, that's where the Spanish comes in. But we are Afro-Asian and Afro-Latina, because in Spain conquered, I believe, the Moors. And that is how, Spanish people came to look all different ways. Plus, Spain conquered like everybody. But in the Philippines, damn near every damn body. Let's just be honest. But in the Philippines, in my family, you can trace my family down to Ilocos, which you can even trace. I took my test. I traced my roots, and you can trace my people down to the indigenous people of Ilocos, which means that they used to call them people of the bay. Yep, because they used to fish, they used to hunt and gather, and then eventually it just kind of came in to farming. They farmed like rice, sugarcane. And then we kind of got conquered, we got colonized, and then we just kind of shifted.
Yeah. And that's why when you were saying that you can relate to some of the plight that's going on in this country in regards to displacement, it makes sense. Like we were talking about earlier, very briefly, about Guam and how Guam has successfully sued the U.S. for the need to clean up a Superfund site they have, which is basically a site of just extensive environmental damage that has possibly caused damage to the people and the land and everything else.
Well, that's the thing too. Not everywhere and everybody has lost their connection. They like for my culture, we call ourselves the Ilocanos.
Mm-hmm.
We have a deep connection to the land. Whether we're fishing or we're farming, our connection with the land is unmistakable. I mean, look at the name, People of the Bay, because we are connected to the water, the ocean, the land, everything. That the land provides everything we need to survive. So if we're conquered, they take away our language, they take away our culture, and then they destroyed the land that we lived on and we sustained ourselves on for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
That's adding insult to injury. So if Guam sued the United States, I love my country, but good for them.
Yeah.
It's like if I go into your house and just start breaking stuff, you're going to expect me to pay for that.
Yeah. Or get poked.
Period. I sent you a text message earlier today about the 4th and what it was like for me as a veteran to, hear all these things about the 4th of July and the cognitive dissonance it caused me.
In what way? What were you feeling?
Well, I said, as a veteran, I was willing to fight and die for this country. Man, I love this country. I'm free here. I got privileges here. I got first world problems over here. I complain about my internet here. But at the same time, listen, I get it. This land is stolen.
Mm-hmm.
This land is stolen. What happened here happened to my people too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for me. And I compared loving the United States, like as a woman of color, like being in a loveless marriage. Like for the United States, I pressed out the clothes. I had dinner on the table ready. I rubbed the United States feet and
you were the lover and the secretary.
I was the lover and the secretary, but I cannot keep the United States from cheating on me and beating my behind. I couldn't keep the U.S. from cheating on me and beating me.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things like, but then again, I'm also that wife. I can't stop loving U.S. though.
Yeah.
It's all I know. I mean, I know my roots. I've been to Philippines. I learned all about my culture. I've never been to Spain. It's on my to-do list. But, I'm a woman of color, Afro-Asian, Afro-Latina. I've got 3 Black children and a Black husband.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying you, but to your listeners, do y'all know what that is like? To love both your country, but want to protect your family from the people in it?
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. Your husband had to, he, as you talked about when we were live last week, that your husband put himself in danger, being a bus driver, being exposed on the front line. There was no time for him to be, at home and safe or work from home. He had to go out to, provide and help and support his family,
Yep. And the masks that they provided him, they didn't provide him with masks until deep in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
They quarantined us in March. He didn't get a mask from his job until like the last week of March and April.
Wow. That's crazy. And
the masks are like cloth, like and he has a beard and everything. So it's like it covers his nose and mouth. But because of the beard, like it's not big enough.
He needs a bonnet. He needs like a face bonnet.
I know. He needs that big wraparound thing.
Yeah. So you also, in addition to having your company that you run, you also have a campaign that you started, and we posted about that last week too. Can you talk about that a little bit more, like the campaign that you're working on and why it's important to you?
Oh yeah, I might start crying.
It's
So,
okay.
so I started the Justice for Juleen campaign because the driver who hit me and put me in a rollator, I was told by the deputy DA, Jennifer McDonald, that he probably won't see jail time. He also probably, he probably won't see jail time. He'll be ordered to pay restitution, but he won't be able to pay it. And she gave me this speech in the middle or like outside the courtroom saying that you're strong. You're gonna have to move on and learn how to get over this. I just started crying and shaking, not even because I was sad. I was angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this isn't over. And she's like, well, he doesn't have any priors, but let that be a black man sitting in the courtroom. They'll put him under the jail.
Right.
This is a white passing Latino man that hit me, but, my rights don't matter. So I started the Justice for Juleen campaign. I wanted people to call, email, write, because victims have rights. These men and women that come out here and commit the DUIs without any regard for human life, they're getting a slap on the wrist and then they're moving on. But then if you look at the history of who's getting thrown in jail for stuff, you will see that it's mostly black men and women that are being put in prison and in jail.
Right.
And it's disproportionate to the ones that are getting the slap in the wrist. And the only slap that's happening is the one that's in the face of the victim. Yeah. And I was lucky. I walked away with my life. Some of these people they're scarred, they're walking away missing limbs, and some mothers have to bury their children. Like Katie Palmer, for example. She was hit by a drunk driver. This drunk driver still hasn't seen prison. She died.
It's a different side to a conversation that I've been having about about prisons and about criminal justice. And, from my perspective, I've been focusing more on, the fact that, like you said, there's a disproportionate amount of Black men and women who are incarcerated. Same thing for other folks of color as compared to their white counterparts. And I would say that this is another side of what we really need to figure out as we're trying to change this system, which is that victims also don't have the type of support that they need. There is no reason that you should have been told to just move on while your entire life have been changed. The beauty part is that even though this happened to you, that yes, you still have the drive that you have. Otherwise, things would be looking different, but everyone is not as exceptional as you are. And that's why we have to really think about how we do things. We really have to think about the programs that we have that we need to really fill these gaps that the system has created.
That is absolutely true. And they're even recalling the California DA right now because he's not putting people in jail. He is giving lenient sentences, mostly due to overcrowding in the prisons. But the prisons are overcrowded because we are sending people to prison for 10 years, 5 to 10 years for pot offenses.
Oh my God.
We are slapping DUIs on the wrist. It makes no sense.
It really doesn't. And the thing is that alcohol kills more people every year and is still perfectly legal, perfectly acceptable. There are some rules, but if you've been in college, you know that those rules are made to be broken.
Exactly. And if you would have told me 5 years ago that I would have had to learn how to walk a second time, or I would have had to, it would take me well over a year. It's been almost 2 years and I have not been back on a bike. I would have laughed in your face. I was, no, yeah, okay.
Right.
But the fact is, like, alcohol changes and ruins more lives than pot ever did. The only reason people who are in prison right now for pot offenses are saying pot ruined their life is because some overzealous DA who clearly does not like pot put them in there.
Yeah. And the fact that it's based on racism, like it's based on, the jazz era, the advent of the jazz era, and, the criminalization of it, as long as with the criminalization of Black men too, it's the same thing.
Oh, it's true. And, as a journalist, I really I doggedly followed a story, which, like, true story, true fact, I was investigated by a government agency because I was looking into a certain politician who will not be named.
Ooh.
I was looking into a certain politician who was putting people in jail for long periods of time. She was putting people of color in prison for a long time for, like, small offenses, like pot offenses, traffic offenses, driving without a license offenses.
Wow.
So I started picking apart her court cases and calling down to San Fran, where she was representing, and seeing what was really going on. And the people that she sent to prison went to private prisons.
Interesting.
And what's even more interesting is her salary as the, prosecuting DA at the time. And her salary plus her home and the car she drove and the clothes she wore, just the money didn't match up. So I started digging a little further and then I stopped.
Oh, Juleen.
Yeah.
Is it Murder, She Wrote?
I'm just saying.
Oh, girl. But you know what? And the funny thing is about the private prison is that it's harder to get records from private prisons. It's harder to get a real clear picture of what's really going on, how inmates are being treated, because private prisons don't have to report their data to the public.
Exactly. And as a journalist, I started poking around and a certain government agency shut my story down.
Ooh, yo.
We'll just say this story was being investigated and it was going to run around November.
Girl, I need the tea. We don't have to talk about it now because we're on the air, but I want the tea. I need to know. I will be sworn to the utmost of secrecy, but I must know.
You know.
Oh my God.
I was listening to one of your YouTube appearance on Independent Thought where you were talking about whether the vote matters or not. And you know.
Yeah.
Put it like that. The money she made that year, she could have afforded double sold Timbs.
I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about the Timberland boots. I don't want to talk about any of it because they weren't real. And I don't want to talk about it.
Yep.
But we're on the same page, clearly. Anyone who listens to the show and is a fan knows.
If you know, then you know.
Then you know. Now, we have more than come to the crossroads. We have talked about, we've had a full cycle conversation. We started off talking about mobility justice. We talked about your origin story. If I haven't, I'm going to take the time right now to thank you for your service. It could not have been easy. You're the first person in your family to go into the military. And, there's a lot of brave people of color who are proud to serve this country. Many Asian American people have given their life for this country, and that is something to be noted. And we also talked about your campaign, which is really speaking truth to power. You're really using a long-standing method, letter writing, and just campaigns in general to get your message across. And it is one that is important. It is one that, And so much of what we've talked about all connects. Mobility justice connects to, healthcare, how folks get back and forth, access to public transportation, all these things. They're all related,
Exactly. When I was driving the bus, I was not really the ramps to get the ramps on some of the new transit buses. It will flip open. So you open the door and it flips open, but it's so narrow. Like the people in the wheelchairs that were a little bit bigger, they couldn't get on that ramp.
Right.
They could not fit on that ramp. And that's how a lot of them got to and from like the VA hospital out here in Long Beach. That's how that's how they get seen. That's how they get their health care. Now, like the area I used to live in, New Haven, where Yale was right up the street, and people would have to take the bus out there. The bus is a primary mode of transportation because not a lot of us could really afford a van big enough to put a wheelchair in.
Right.
We were on the bus.
Right.
And then not only that, like the bus used to be like $135. They brought it up to like $165. It used to be you could use a transfer for 90 minutes, or for all day. And then now you can only use that transfer for 90 minutes. You can't use it on the same bus line. So if I have an appointment at Yale and I hop on that bus to go down to Yale Town, and then I get done before 90 minutes, I'm going to have to pay another $1.65 because that's the same line I have to take to get back home.
That's insane.
Yep.
And it's like, and if you are a senior, someone that's on a fixed income, if you don't plan for that and the needs that seniors have to get back and forth to their doctor or to pick up their medication, if they're having to use public transit, if they don't have family nearby, like, can you imagine how isolating that is and how we have to do a better job to protect them, to protect people who don't have the access that they should?
The average Social Security income for someone who is elderly and worked their entire life is like $600. And that's good. But if you don't have all that, you will be looking at a $400, $500 income. And then if you got a lot of doctor's appointments, and, a lot of people do at that age, let's just be honest.
Right.
You're looking at $500 minus, let's say, $65 a month for your bus pass to get to and from. Then you got to look at your meds. They recently changed Medicaid, so you now have a spend down where then they don't cover your prescriptions. You got to spend a certain amount of money. And let's say you're diabetic and they got to spend down, so that's like $65 a month. Then you got to pay for your diabetes supplies, which is dumb expensive. My mom's diabetic. So, and she has good insurance and it's still expensive. So I don't even really know how much it would cost. So let's just ballpark it at 100. I'm sure it's more than that. So that's like 165 gone already. And that's just for transportation and meds.
Yep.
There's there's groceries. People got to eat. They got to eat healthy meals. And then, entertainment. What if they need new clothes? Or what if they're incontinent and they need Depends?
Right. The list goes on. I mean, you're absolutely right.
it's unreal. And I'm well traveled. So when I see other countries, we're supposed to be like a superpower. So
we should be living like the Jetsons.
What's going on with our healthcare?
Right.
Why is this? And how come mental health isn't covered?
Come on.
Why isn't ABA therapy covered? Well, my son is autistic and he has to be added to a different insurance, to my fiance's insurance, Cigna, so that he can be seen by an ABA therapist.
Wow.
It makes it's unreal to me. I don't get it.
We could spend like an actual eternity talking about the healthcare system. I don't even think I've begun to tackle that on this show because we have such a full hand with everything else, but it's starting to come up,
Women's healthcare. I mean, my show is all about women, but let's talk about women's healthcare. I'm a woman, I'm a female of color, and I know that in my family, both my Filipino side and my Spanish side, that heart disease is prevalent. Also, high blood pressure. I also know that my heart attack could feel like a headache, and it could be ignored and I could die because I'm thinking that I just have a bad migraine when really I'm about to have a heart attack and die. But why when I go into a medical facility and I say, hey, I'm having chest pain and a headache, can you please run an EKG? This is in a VA hospital right here in California. Why do I have to say, you get an EKG right now or you bring your supervisor out? Either way, I'm not leaving here without an EKG today.
How about you go in there and they're like, oh my God, she's back. Give her whatever she wants.
Oh yeah. No, they have the same person that works at night. I broke my foot and she saw me. She's like, oh, here we go. Here we go.
Oh, she's here.
Yeah, it's not her fault though. I tend to say what's on my mind. I haven't really quite adjusted to the California culture. When I first met her, I was waiting to be triaged and I had pneumonia because here, like the pollutants or something was like irritating my lungs, and I had a bad, like I could not breathe. I had bad pneumonia. And she was over there on the phone, like with on a personal call, talking to like someone. And I guess he was on the road, and she was like, "Drive safe. I know when do you get to the next truck stop?" I guess like her husband was a trucker or whatever. And I walked up to the desk and I was like, "Hi there. Excuse me. Sorry to interrupt your call, but just in case you felt like working today, can you please register me?"
Oh no.
It's not her fault. I really didn't make it easy for her to like me. And I'm a real person, and I will say, like, I can be abrasive at times, and that's just true facts.
So that's life, girl. And you know what? As we are kind of transitioning into the quick word segment where we just give a little quick piece of advice, I just have to say mine is be yourself. Just always be yourself. Don't let anyone tell you that that's wrong. Don't let anyone tell you that it's too loud, because people make adjustments for things and what they want all the time. And so you can bend the rules as you like as well. What about you? What you got?
If I had to give anybody advice, listen, ladies, this is for ladies, especially women of color. Society expects us to be quiet. Don't be quiet. I spent my life fighting that stereotype. If I speak up, I'm aggressive. I can't look aggressive. I can't do this. Otherwise, I'm this, aggressive, brown skinned Latina woman. I can't be that. I have to fight that stereotype. No, don't be quiet. Don't apologize. Look around you. And when you see a bunch of women and men together, count how many times you see a woman say, "Hi, I'm sorry, but," and take note. Don't apologize. Don't apologize for having a voice.
Agreed.
It's your voice. It's your opinion. Don't apologize for it. If you need to get loud, get loud. Advocate for yourself. It's okay. If you're seen as aggressive or abrasive, like Rashida said, do you, boo? All right. Be you.
Be you. And where can everybody follow you? How can everybody like keep up with the show and keep up with what you're doing? Because you do a lot of good things. I hope you know that. Like, I hope you, in addition to celebrating your birthday, that you also know that you are so dedicated to working hard, to making things happen, and you deserve flowers as well. So I want to make sure you have that, of course.
No, that means a lot to me. If I'm being honest, I suffer from imposter syndrome so bad.
Oh, girl.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome is real.
Oh, girl, no. Oh,
I do. Like, I'm just like, I'm a fake. They're all going to know I'm a fake.
oh my
I'm
God.
not this person. I'm like, and then I'll sit there and I'll have to like, I had to do my IMDb and then go through all my directorial credits, my production credits. And then I was like, I am this person.
Yes.
I am this person.
Yes, completely. You were like, oh, you were real casual about that shit too. You were like, oh, here's my IMDb page. I was like, what? Like it's amazing. I was like, whoa, look at all these amazing things. So you have a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And I think a lot of people are like that
Yeah.
too. Like you just get caught up in doing one task at a time and then you don't realize what it looks like when you put it all together.
Yes. Yes. And that has definitely been the closing of season 3 and starting season 4 of this show. And you have been so instrumental. So, okay, give out your social media before we wrap up so that folks can follow you.
Okay. Just hit me on Linktree. That's linktr.ee/mom is always right. That's WRITE media. And from there, you can access all the podcasts that are on the network. You can, there's even a link to the producer we use for certain things. You can get links to the articles, like articles that I wrote and that was published this year. And then you can and it also links you back to the blog, the website. The website I'm designing, it's about to be under maintenance. So if you click on the website, it's going to look a lot different in about, I want to say 2 weeks.
Yeah. 2 weeks is fair.
So, yeah. In about 2 weeks, it's going to look a lot different. And quick hint, you can extra read all about it on our website.
Yes.
Something new.
I like it. I loves it. Well, Juleen, thank you so much for joining me. And everyone, we will see you again at the Crossroads.